let's put up this graphic, how Biden and Buttigieg could deliver sick leave to rail workers. If they really wanted to do it, they could do it. This is excellent reporter again coming from The Lever. And when he forced a contract on rail workers, the president pledged to continue to fight to provide them paid sick leave. Here is how he can do it. So at The Lever, they letting them know how he can do it. We got to make sure that he does. Let's take a look at this. When President Joe Biden pushed through a bill last week forcing a contract on exhausted rail workers, he vowed to continue fighting for paid sick leave, a key demand in the years-long contract battle between the increasingly overworked workers and their profit-soaked employers. Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg echoed that promise in a widely watched grilling by CNN's Jake Tapper. Let's take a look at this grilling, shall we?
What does it mean to press the case if you're not willing to actually go to these billionaires and say, how on earth can you sleep at night not letting your railway workers have paid sick leave, which is just like that. I mean, that's not an extravagant benefit, paid sick leave. You get sick, you get to take a few days off. They don't have that. So I guess these lofty aspirations are one thing, but I didn't hear any language coming from the administration saying these rail companies need to get serious about offering basic benefits like paid sick leave.
Jake Tapper is absolutely right. Just asking for the basics. And I want you to know that Mr. Buttigieg really had nothing to say. All that fluff language he used after that did not answer Jake Tapper's question. And kudos to Jake Tapper for going in on this man and letting them know your nonsense that you're talking. We're not gonna tolerate it here on CNN. Not today. Not today, Petey. Not today. And so Biden and Buttigieg have yet to say just how they will try to secure sick days for 125,000 rail workers who are among the 33 million US workers lacking access to a benefit that's universal in other wealthy nations around the world. We need to be ashamed of ourselves. Jackson, I don't know, we are a hegemon nation. We're the wealthiest nation on the face of the earth, yet workers have to grovel and beg for, as Jake Tapper laid out, the basics.
And I think this will actually turn out to be one of Biden's worst policy losses, because it was just really unnecessary, and one that is just gonna unnecessarily hurt the party when the Republicans are doing so poorly by themselves. Well, the reality is you got to stick by your word and your branding and your mission. And the railway workers feel this pain. So moving into coming elections, it's really not going to matter so much to them that the Democrats are objectively better on unions than Republicans, because they just watched and felt Joe Biden do what he did, even though he could have, clamped down on an executive order to expand sick leave for the employees, which could have, well, of course, stifled some type of legal challenge, but fight, damn it. You know what I mean? That's what people need to see. That's what people not just need to see, but it's really what makes the difference. And the alternative, being the Republican Party, is completely worse. So, when you got CNN coming down on your head, that really says a lot to how much of a loss this is.
Yeah, totally agree. This was the president's opportunity to really show whose side he was on. And he did show us whose side he is on. And it certainly was not the workers in this case. He can still do an executive order. So let's see what he does. Now, as reported by The Lever, there are several paths that the Biden administration can take. Let's take a look at what this president can do. Biden could try to expand an executive order requiring federal contractors to provide sick leave. His Secretary of Transportation could enforce existing rail safety laws to challenge harmful attendance policies, or his administration could use the last few weeks of Democrats' control of Congress, meaning both chambers, to push for the passage of a national paid sick leave bill. This president ought to do that. He ran on this, and he should hold true to what he promised. But more importantly, to leave the rail workers in a lurch like this, in a terrible situation like this, is really inhumane, knowing that they have zero paid sick days, knowing that if they went on strike, they would bring this economy to a halt, but yet they were not worthy worthy enough for you to fight for them. Instead, you use your power to really crush them and to stop them from using the most important bargaining chip that they have, their ability to strike. Give the workers what they are asking for, because they are not asking for too much. They are, in the words of Jake Tapper, asking for the bare minimum. They deserve better than what they are getting. Now, to be clear, going back to the lever, the first of these options would most certainly trigger a legal challenge on the basis of the arcane rail laws. Those laws can be changed too, by the way, by Congress, but I digress. The arcane rail laws that the rail industry has relied on to preempt its workers from key federal protections. And all of these moves would require picking a fight with the rail industry donors who have funded almost $20 million to Democrats in the last decade. Underlined, bolded, underscore, exclamation point. So hopefully you sisters and brothers and family and friends are getting a glimpse into why not much happens on behalf of the 98% in this country. It is because the owner-donor oligarchs are in full control. They are. And whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, the corporatist wings of both parties are in control, and they worship at the feet of these owner-donors. See, that's what you got to understand. That is what we are letting you know right here on Unbossed. That whether they Democrat or Republican, if they are part of the owner, if they bow at the feet of the owner donors, if they are part of the corporatist wing of either of these parties, ultimately they will say the hell with the everyday American. And what has happened to the rail workers is going to come back to bite, not only because this ain't about the Democrats, this is about the rail workers. And you do this to the rail workers, you'll do it to nurses, you'll do it to teachers. Hell, you'll do it to janitors, you'll do it to carpenters, you'll do it to secretaries. They'll do it to anybody. If it comes down to the choice between the working class of this country from all identities, the people in the hoods where they are misunderstood, the rural hoods, the urban hoods, or the suburban hoods, and them owner donors, they gonna choose the owner donors. Now you see what they did. This president asked Congress to act, and they acted, and there were only a few members in both chambers that stood up and said, hell to the no, but it was not enough. And the reason why they did it, well, the lever just gave you the numbers, $20 million over the last 10 years. These politicians are bought and sold all the way up to the president of the United States of America. Let's put this up. On Tuesday, just 4 days after Democrats passed their strike-busting bill without paid sick leave. Did you hear us? Without paid sick leave. Norfolk Southern Railway, one of the biggest freight companies, boasted that it would be enriching its shareholders with stock dividends and buybacks, and according to financial records, providing workers with 7 paid sick days would cost railroads just 4 days of recent profits. Jackson, I am hotter than a mofo over this, and I'm going to show the requisite emotion because this is out bribery, and they have definitely left the workers of the rail industry out there just hanging out there by themselves with nothing because now they can't even strike. This is a damn shame. And I hope that the railway workers do not forget this when it comes time to vote again. Don't forget. And no working class person should forget. Jackson, what say you? I done said a whole lot. What say you?
Well, I think that just in terms of the reality of the situation is, given all the profits, the record profits that the rail companies have seen, the reality is the more I study things like fraud, all the things happening in the crypto market and stuff, these corporations basically just participate in legal pump and dump schemes. They don't dump the stocks the same way, but it's no different when they buy their own stocks and then broadcast that to the shareholders. But everything comes with a cost, and the cost is the people who make the railways possible. So again, this is just a very unfortunate loss for the Democrats that was unnecessary, and it's easy to blink past how much money these people get. $20 million is a lot of money, but we're so used to hearing that it's just like, so just, corporate Democrats taking another L.
Yeah, corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans, they are the worst. And they together. They dine together. Their kids go to school together. They're gonna have a bright future together. Let us not forget, it is the 98%. It is the have and the have not. That's what this comes down to. So shame on this administration. Rail workers, don't you forget it. And everybody else that stands in solidarity with workers across this country, we will not forget what this Congress and this president did to the rail workers.